think, and I suppose this is maybe something that's easier said than done, but just to get as much work experience in a law firm as possible, because I think that when you're younger, you can imagine what lawyers do and you can think in the realm what kind of skills will be useful, but until you're actually there, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not particularly relevant. So just to have as much involvement with the firms, go to open days and apply for work experience, and go to the law fairs and just get as much actual kind of contact with the direct environment, because for me, you can never really underestimate the difference between academic law and working in a commercial law firm. I didn't have the opportunity to do much work experience in law firms before I started as a trainee, and that's something that I would like to have done more. And I suppose it's easier to comment with hindsight, but on my first day as a trainee, I didn't have a real understanding what was expected and what was going on and why, critically. And I think that if you have been in that environment before, even as someone junior and not as a full-time employee, you at least have that kind of first rung on the ladder. And so, as I say, I think that being in that environment, it's not something that I did, but I would really kind of stress the benefits of it. Sometimes people try and pigeonhole different skills are relevant to different jobs. If you're being a property lawyer, you don't need the same skills as a litigator, you don't need the same skills as a family lawyer. But I think that on the whole, there is a thread, and I think the most important things are strong communication skills, and that is in every direction. So you need to be very clear with your colleagues, you need to be very clear with the person who's the head of your team, you need to be extremely clear with your opponent, you need to be clear with your client. And when I say being clear, it's not the same thing, because you have to be clear in different ways. You have to adopt your register. When you speak to your colleague, you don't speak in the same way as you do to a barrister or you do to the other side. So I think really putting as much time and effort into being as clear as possible, leaving no doubt whatsoever what you mean, is something that everyone understands those words, but until it comes down to it, you don't appreciate how important that is. Following on from that is attention to detail. That's something that's a skill that I think a lot of junior lawyers struggle with and don't really appreciate until you're in the environment. If you're drafting a contract, or you're putting a witness statement together, you've got to have certainty. You've got to have be absolutely clear about what you mean and why. I think it's a skill you can hone, and you should hone. So the third one would just be kind of to be determined, because as a junior lawyer, things can be tough at times. On the whole, it's fun, it's diverse, it's interesting. Ultimately, it can be very pleasing to get the result you want in court, or to get a deal over the line. But you've got to just stick at it, and think these processes take a long time as well. I think that sometimes as a trainee it can be difficult because you only have a 6-month exposure to something, and you may not necessarily see the start or end of a certain matter. But I think if you just stick at it, it pays dividends.